Materialities of Critique, a comparison of the project's media in the face-to-face, emergency remote teaching and distance learning environments of a critical design course in Turkey is the title of my presentation. I'm trained as an industrial and interaction designer, and currently I am a PhD student in Hessen State University of Arts, and I'm working on philosophy of technology. The outline of my presentation is as follows. I will shortly discuss about what critical design is, and then compare the 3 cycles of my course, and also compare the outcomes of the project's media and whether those media were helpful for the success of those projects. A critical design in terms of Krippendorf, he is a communication designer and also a researcher on communication design, say that the design shouldn't be a servant of the commercial system, it should shape it. Another important figure here is John Takara, and he is a social designer or a theorist of social design. He says that because product design is thoroughly integrated into capitalist production, it is bereft of an independent critical tradition on which to base an alternative. Maybe an answer to this would come from Dune and Rebbe, a duo working on critical design and some of the most important figures in that area. They say that, I think that art shouldn't need to exist. In an ideal utopian world, everyday life would be so rich, meaningful, and challenging that we wouldn't need this separate category called art. I kind of feel that art exists because design has failed. This is maybe a nice figure that shows what critical design is beside from a normal design activity. Dune and Rebbe call it affirmative design, which tries to solve problems, which is a process as design. On the other hand, critical design tries to find a problem. It doesn't solve it, it just asks questions. It really shows what critical design is and how it is differentiated from a normal design activity. I have been giving this course since 2019. I was able to give it just once as face-to-face and once in the emergency remote teaching environment, and 2 times as a more properly designed distance learning environment. Now I'm able to give it also again face-to-face, but as the course is not finished yet, it was not included in the research. When we see which tools and environments each different cycles are using, we can see that the website of the course has always been there, but the facilities were not there at the distance learning environment. And before pandemic, Google Groups was the main communication method. After that, during the pandemic and now, Discord and Google Meet were have been used in the course, and also Miro and Tumblr were useful tools for this process. When I talk about the methodology of the course, it begins with a question of Latour. He asks why his critique run out of steam, and then there are several answers to that. And one of the answers is that maybe philosophers need to make things like carpenters do, is Graham Harman's answer maybe. And Peter Friedrich Stephan's methodology, he's a design researcher in Köln in the International School of Design, is that we can use this methodology and then at the end we can invent alternative scripts and translations, which I also use in my own critical design course. During these 3 cycles, 68 projects were developed, which were done by 150 students, which were working in groups of 2 to 4. In different cycles, the outcomes of the projects were in different medias. For example, in the first cycle, performative things and objects were created, but later on, with the distance learning environment, those were then abandoned, and new media were also introduced into this outcomes, like social media or creating websites. If we see that throughout all the projects which were submitted, 38% were digital images, 15% were related to social media, either groups or posts of things, and also 23% were made in print media. In the face-to-face cycle, 42% were print, and 17% were objects, and 25% were performative things like events or making design activism issues. But in the emergency remote teaching, performative and object submissions were it was not possible to do it. So most of the things were, as we see, digital images. In the distance learning environment, students were more, they were also attached to do also digital images at the end of their projects. The 68 projects were evaluated by a design expert, and I also evaluated them too. My evaluations are these blue ones, which were quite similar, even a bit better with the emergency remote teaching. But the experts' evaluation really had some differences between the face-to-face environment and also compared to the distance learning and emergency remote teaching environments. I will also show 3 examples from each cycle to illustrate maybe which kind of projects were developed during this course. The first example is from the face-to-face environment, which was titled as Inflatable Whale at the Park. Students were criticizing that the nearby park's pond was not used in any. There was no water inside, and they never saw it with water. So they just put an inflatable whale there and then waited for a while. Actually, nothing happened. But when they arrived at home, they saw that someone has taken the picture of it and uploaded it into the Instagram account of the students' social clubs. And so many of the people were seeing it, and also they were discussing about it. So in terms of Bruno Latour, the image really became a matter of concern. The second project is from the emergency remote teaching environment. And the students were criticizing, or they were thinking about people or objects that create smokes, and instead of a snow globe, they designed a smoke globe where different practices were put inside those globes. For example, making a barbecue or smoking or using a hookah, those kinds of practices. As they were not able to create the object of it, they created the images of those objects. The third example is from the distance learning environment. It was a mock website, a mock shopping website actually, where it was for them, it was the matter of concern was that people were frauded by other ones who just sent some fruits and vegetables in the boxes of technological products. So they were frauded people. And on this mock website, they were criticizing such kind of practices, actually. As concluded, we can say that digital environments has widened our set of tools for education, which really enhanced the nature of it. And also new materialities were introduced in the final projects of this critical design course. And also a variety of media were used in this new environment, but also this is affecting the qualities of the work. And I think there is also a charm of this materiality, the physical materiality, that is maybe not, for many people, the physical objects and performances cannot be replaced by digital environments. So during this process of a pandemic, we could really add new tools and new materialities to the class, but also we shouldn't abandon the ones which have been used so far. So this pandemic could just be an add-on for the outcomes of the projects. And it was the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, you can email me, or you can also go into those websites where you can find the final projects. Thank you.